This is my UPS. It's the APC Smart UPS 1500. This is the Japanese spec, so it's an SMT 1500J. I understand there's also an SMT 1500C and E and maybe some others depending upon your region, but they're all basically exactly the same. It's a really good unit. I've been very happy with it. It's got a nice large display. The menus are super easy to navigate, and it does a good job at cleaning your power supply. This gives a pure sine wave output, so it's a fantastic super clean signal. You get 2 power banks. I have 4 outlets in each, and these power banks can be configured separately. So you can configure them individually, what to do in the event of a power down, how long to stay active, and so on. It's got USB and serial port to communicate with your devices, so you can monitor it and trigger safe shutdowns according to your wishes. And this is Japanese spec, so it's rated for 100 volts input, although probably the power supply could be the same in all of them, some switching power supply. So they could be identical hardware apart from Japanese spec. All my writing's in Japanese and my outlet is Japanese style, but probably inside they could be identical. But anyway, it's a great unit, and it's still on its original batteries despite being 13 years old. So up until recently, that was enough for me because the batteries could last a good 5 to 10 minutes, and I had it configured to keep running long enough just to send safe shutdown to all my devices. So everything would shut down 1 minute after power out. And it's been running fine for like that for up to 13 years. But the other day we had a bit of a brownout, and just that was enough to shut down all my stuff. So I tested this, and actually it can't run for more than a minute on the battery. So even now it's kind of turned itself off. The fan is still going, but yeah, the batteries are definitely dead. So it's time to change the battery, and I spent 2 to 3 days googling around, really figuring out what to do and how to do it. So I thought this video might be useful to anyone else who has one of these, because they're super popular devices. Maybe I can save you some time. In fact, these are so popular that even though this one is 13 years old, they still make this unit looking exactly the same, and they're still releasing firmware updates for it. So you don't actually have to power this unit down to change the batteries. The batteries are hot swappable, but I feel a lot more comfortable with this thing completely powered down to change the battery. So you see I've completely disconnected it from my rig and brought it out here. I've already turned the output banks off. So now it will run for a couple of minutes like this, and then it will time out and we'll hear it click as it shuts down. So I'll keep filming for a little bit and speed it up, and then I'll show you the sound when it completely powers down. There. So you heard that click, and now the unit's completely off. So the next thing I'm going to do is, just as an extra measure, I'm going to go around the back and I'm going to pull out this isolation switch. So this switch here, this is out for when the unit is being transported and being shipped, and with this out, the battery is completely disconnected from the device. So I'll just leave that dangling there, and now I know that nothing is connected internally. So the next step is to pull off this faceplate. So you see mine actually has a gap here because I've already pulled this off earlier, and I didn't want to click it on and pull it off and keep on doing that. So I've just rested it here for now. But on the side, you've got these little finger holes. You just put a finger hole in each side, hold it firmly and give it a good yank, and then this whole faceplate comes off. So you can see it's held in place by these 4 metal clips, you know, similar to the clips which you have holding on internal panels in cars. So this whole faceplate comes off, and it's got a nice long ribbon cable, and then you can rest it up there. And then the next thing is you have this protective metal plate at the front with these 2 screws holding it in. So after taking out the 2 screws, this panel slides down. This bit of sticky tape was really tight the first time I did this, so it was stopping this panel from moving past this. So if it feels too tight, like it's about to break, check this bit of tape. It could just be that holding it in place. Once this panel is down, on the original battery you may have this flap here, or you can reach in from the top and pull it out either way. And then slide the battery out, and once it's out you'll be able to access this connector and unplug that, and that's the battery disconnected. So now it's time to put a new battery in, and this is where things get interesting. So let me just change camera angle. So this is the original battery. You can see it's branded APC. It's a 24-volt battery with whatever connector this is called attached. But the problem is these are super expensive, very expensive. So let me show you what I mean. So these are the prices today in Japan, March 2026. So this is the OEM part number for this battery, and currently the cheapest I can find on Amazon Japan is around 64,000 Japanese yen, which at today's FX is $400 or around £300. But these numbers here in dollars and pounds are artificially low because the yen is super weak at the moment. It's been falling steadily over the last year and a bit. So to me, I earn in yen, spend in yen. This still feels around $600 to me, which would be around 450 quid. Either way, at $400 or $600, it's still a super expensive battery. But after much research, it turns out this isn't a 24-volt battery. It's actually 2 standard size 12-volt batteries connected together. So these are actually standard size motorcycle batteries. They are not deep cycle or anything special. They're just regular lead acid batteries like you get in motorbikes. And they're a standard size. So you can replace this much cheaper than this 64,000 yen price. So after a bit of research, these are the model numbers of equivalent batteries in Japan, and if you Google these numbers, you'll easily find compatible equivalents in your local markets. I think these are common codes in the US. This is the generic code for Japan. So this would be a 17 amp hour 12-volt battery. So I need 2 of these. This is also 17 amp hours. There is an 18 amp hour alternative. Or this Super Natto brand is a very popular brand in Japan for motorbikes. Almost all motorbike brands, Japanese brands, use this brand of battery. So it's a fairly reliable brand. There's 2 variants, the 12SN18, which is 18 amp hours, or the 12SN20, which is 20 amp hours. So I had a hunt around for them, and on Amazon Japan, I was able to find this model here. So a twin pack of 2 of the 12SN20. So these are 20 amp hours, so they'll last much longer than the original. A twin pack of these was 14,250 Japanese yen, which is around $90 or around 67 quid at today's FX. So, $400, 300 quid versus $90, 67 quid. So, I was super happy when I realised this, and then I did much searching on some blogs and forums and found some other guys in Japan had used these batteries with much success. So here's a twin pack of this battery, so you can see that it's pretty much the same shape, and all we have to do is take the top hardware off here and replace it with these. So yeah, being Japan, they even came with a little bit of manga, which is kind of fun. Anyway, so when you order these, there's two types of connectors. There's a, I forget what they call it in English. It's like a recessed socket, like a bolt, like a nut, and you screw into it. Or there's this type of connector. I think it's called F4, but I don't know if that is a local standard or if that's a common global thing. So anyway, it has to be this type of connector. And also pay attention, if you have a look at the pictures, that sometimes this connector is right on this edge and sometimes it's more in. We want the one which is more in, like this. Yeah, see, they're both inset. So this is my original battery here, and it has these two plastic covers which are just held on with double-sided tape. So all I did is I just went around a little bit and just loosened it up like that, and on this side too, and then you can pull these off. So sometimes a bit of tape might get stuck here and a bit of tape might get stuck there, but just pull these two covers off. Okay, I thought I'd do this on close-up. Right now, this is a broken circuit, right? So it can go around here and the circuit is broken here. And this connector is helping to hold that circuit open for us. So we should start from the fuse side first and then take this side off. As long as we don't short across here, this circuit is always open. So first I'll disconnect the fuse side. So this is a 100 amp fuse. Have I got that the right way up? If I can make it focus. Yeah, 100 amps. And now this side of the circuit is completely open, so now it's safe to work on this side. We can never short things out, even if I touch across. And that side was a lot easier because I can get my fingers in. And then this is the connector. So now we just need to put these back onto the new batteries. So now we just need to arrange our new batteries in the same layout as the original. So flip that one. Nope. Like that. There. So now the orientation is the same. We have negative, positive, negative, positive, positive, negative, positive, negative. Now, because these are two separate batteries and these are actually bound together, this will move around a lot and we want it kind of held as one unit. So all I'm going to do is use some just regular tape, and I'm going to go around this a couple of times and just you know, tighten these together, and I might go around the bottom and top as well. So let me just do that. There. So there we go. So these are very tightly bound together now. It's like one unit. So now all we need to do is replace our connectors. So as we refit the hardware, we want to make sure we keep the circuit open again. So fit the connector side first, and that will force the circuit to be open because these will never be joined, and then refit the fuse side. I just went to see which spanner fits this nut and found out it's an imperial size 3/8. So that's the size spanner you need. Okay, so let's fit the connector side first. I'll just zoom in a bit. My hand might get in the way here. As I do this, I'll try to keep it clear. So that's the connector side done. And now for the fuse side. And that's it, that's the hardware reconnected. And finally, just peel off whatever double-sided tape is left on these, and just use some regular double-sided tape to refit. So I've just got this regular double-sided tape from the 100 yen store. And that's it, we're done. So now we can put our battery back into the unit and fire it up and see how it goes. So just in reverse, line the battery up, reconnect, and then slide it back in. And make sure the faceplate fits. Again, this piece of tape seems to be holding it. I find it's best just to loosen that. And we can refit these two screws. And then before I snap the faceplate on, I'm just going to power it up by reconnecting that isolation switch at the back and see if all is okay. And hopefully it won't blow up. And all seems fine so far. So now I'm going to plug it into the wall and see if it charges okay. And I'll leave it for a bit, see how it looks, and then if I'm happy after like a half an hour or so, I'll snap the front faceplate back on. So I'm going to hook this up now and then turn the camera back on in around half an hour. So it's been running for some time now and all seems okay. It's charged up to 87%, and about 20 minutes ago I put a load on it, which is just a work light as a test load, 40-watt bulb. So all seems fine, it's charging up, all seems good, no smoke, no fire. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. It's up to 87% now. So all seems good. I'm just going to put the camera down and then refit that front panel. One sec. So it just snaps back into place, and you have to line up the bottom first and then the top. Just like that. And that's it. So now you can see the panels all fitted. Yeah, so there we go, all done. So just a reminder of what we saved. OEM part, 64,000 yen, and two equivalent batteries, 14,000 yen. So these were 7,000 yen each. So significant saving. I really hope that saves a lot of time for somebody else, and more importantly a lot of money. Yeah, so there you go. Cheers for watching.